Welcome back as we delve straight into our relationship chat this morning. Infidelity is the breaking of a promise to remain faithful to a romantic partner, whether that promise was a part of a marriage vow, perhaps, or a privately uttered agreement between the two of you, or an unspoken assumption. As unthinkable as the notion of breaking such promises may be, infidelity is so much more common than you would think. And when it happens, it raises some thorny questions. Now, should you stay, for instance? Can you trust that person again? Can that trust be rebuilt within the relationship? Or is there no choice but to pack up and move on? Today, we're going to chat about infidelity and the aftermath. And we are going to be chatting to a clinical psychologist, Beulah Marks, as well as a life coach and author. She's known as the human lie detector, in fact, Lisette Volkvein. And if you have any thoughts on this experience and you'd like to share some insights with us, please do that. Feel free to drop us a voice note now on 063 408 8863. This is a safe place. We always say that. Beulah, Lisette, thank you so much for joining us. This is a spicy one, and I like it. Can I just ask, first off, straight off the bat, so we know where we all stand. Beulah, what do you consider cheating?
Yeah, cheating is breaking, as you said, a promise, an agreement between partners, regardless of what kind of relationship it is. And it has all the range from sexual encounters to emotional cheating and other sorts of cheating. So
yeah, just watch the
quite a
DMs.
range.
Watch the DMs right now. Lisette, in your mind, how have you rationalized this, or how do you put it in perspective? What is cheating to you?
Well, for me, cheating is anything breaking a commitment. So if I've got a commitment with my business partner, that's cheating. If I deviate from it, if I cheat from a relationship, that's cheating. You know, if once you're committed to a certain set of rules, and I hate rules, I don't do rules. But when we say we break a rule of commitment, that's cheating.
And also a precedent. You know, there is an assumption that within, you might not have laid it down within a relationship, this is what you're allowed to do, and not because we're all grown-ups and we should be able to manage ourselves, but things start to change. So from a psychological standpoint, what is happening within the mind? What is going on when a person starts to drift into that space and maybe not even acting on it, but thinking about it? Where does the notion of cheating come from, do you think?
Yeah, well, psychologists understand it, you know, in terms of what is the person's motivation. It might come from their background, perhaps a family background, their attachment, the early attachments, which might predispose them to be open to such behaviors. So it's a very human behavior. As you said, it's quite common. So it's not
probably far too common. I think it would blow most people's minds how often it does happen.
Yes.
Talk me through that range of infidelity, because maybe there's a sliding scale which makes it seem innocent to enter into an engagement, just say talking to someone at work and taking a bit more time, a bit more focus on them. Talk me through the different types of infidelity.
Yes, Graham. The range is from emotional cheating. This is just having feelings for somebody else other than the primary partner. Your focus is on somebody else in terms of dreams, what you want to do with that person. This can include electronic media, can include snail mail, just informal engagement. And then there's also what we call cognitive infidelity. In other words, thinking, being preoccupied, perhaps even obsessed with somebody who's not the main focus in that relationship. And then, of course, the one that people more often think about is sexual infidelity. And there, again, there's quite a range. It can range from any physical behavior, from kissing to full sexual encounters. So there is quite a range, yes.
When one discovers that you've been cheated on, and I think most of us, well, you get to my ripe old age, and you probably have been through this at some point, you can't help but in some way blame yourself. And I think it can be devastating to get that news. Why do we do that? Why do we blame ourselves when we're the ones who have been effectively had this done to us?
You know, as an advocate of authenticity, the one thing I always tell people, nothing in this world is personal. And the first thing what we do is when we hear if we have been cheated on or we get that information, we go, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I play harder, or why didn't I do what he wanted me to do, etc.? the truth be told is that we need to understand at that point when they cheat and you get to know it, or he tells you or she tells you that they cheated, that's the first time they're really honest with you to say, you know, I don't see you in my future, and we are living apart. You know, we just got different ideas of the future. So for me, when you get to that point where we say it's my fault, you need to understand the person who are doing the cheating is normally the insecure person. It's the person who needs approval to say, you know, I'm good enough. Please cheat with me because, you know, I need your approval to say I'm so beautiful and I'm so wonderful, etc. So, and there's always a type of lack in a relationship when infidelity starts. So I never say it's a good thing. Go and have, you know, go find you someone to cheat. But what I'm saying to you guys is that the moment we realize there's a cheating, somebody's basket hasn't been filled, but it's not your fault.
Exactly.
It's a question of, it's not personal. It comes from an issue, like Beulah said. It comes from your programming, the way you perceive life, and what your emotional needs, and what is your physical needs, and how you perceive if you're going to stay committed or you're going to find that adrenaline rush, that adventure, etc. you need.
Would have been nice to know that before we got in the relationship and then before you cheated on me, okay? I'm just saying to that person. I think you want to be angry, you want to blame someone, and it's very easy to label that
Yes.
with the person that has been, you know, the third wheel in this encounter. How much culpability do they have? I suppose very often they might not even know that they are involved, but we want to blame them. How much fault lies on their shoulders and how much on the partner who's doing the cheating in that space? How do we wrap our head around the emotions that are going to come out when we now find out that we've moved into that space?
Yeah, very difficult emotions, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think that it lies with the external or the third party. As psychologists, we like to have people examine themselves and see what is it about me that, or my background, or perhaps a mental health difficulty, perhaps an addiction issue, personality concerns that psychologists might be able to help to see what is going on for you. And it's not just the infidelity that suddenly happened from nowhere. There are opportunistic reasons why people engage in infidelity, but as psychologists, we want to look a little bit underneath the behavior. What is really causing this? And so we want to look at the internal as well as the external, but the responsibility ultimately lies within the person who's doing the cheating. I think we agree around that.
It's like Beulah said, you know, for me, and from an NLP point of view, I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer, a practitioner as well. And if you look at it, the infidelity is only the symptom. And if we understand that that's the symptom, we can park our emotions and we start looking at the facts. And then we do you're going inwards and you go say, but who am I? What do I really want out of the situation? Do I really want to be with somebody who cheats on me and I cannot trust? And, you know, we put so much emphasis on the word trust.
Trust, yeah.
But can you trust yourself being okay for today?
Yeah, no, completely. And I suppose in the exercise of not wanting this pattern to repeat itself over and over, we need to establish what's going on there, but we are not giving you 10 reasons or excuses why you can cheat this morning. There is a line where you do have to take responsibility for your actions, even for your thoughts, it seems, in this space. So we're going to continue this discussion. We'd love to hear from you. 063 408 8863. Drop us a voice note if you'd like to weigh in.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we return to our panel discussing the painful reality of infidelity. Now, earlier we unpacked the reasons why people may cheat on their partners, and right now we're about to discuss the signs of an unfaithful one. And we're joined again by clinical psychologist Beulah Marx, as well as life coach, author, and international keynote speaker Lizette Volkvein. And if you have any thoughts on the experience, please share with us this morning. We'd love to hear your voice notes. 063 408 8863. Ladies, thank you for sticking around. In fact, we've got a couple of voice notes coming through right now, and I'm dying to hear. I wanted an anonymous this morning, but actually this person is brave enough to put their name out there. Jamie now sent us this voice note. Let's take a listen.
Good morning. So your topic is, what do you consider cheating? Cheating to me would be the moment that you step out of your comfort with your partner, in the sense of looking at a picture of another woman and then commenting on it or liking it. And unfortunately, social media is a big part of cheating nowadays. So cheating for me can also be emotional. If you're telling someone else other than your partner all of your feelings and thoughts and things like that, that is cheating to me as well.
It's tough, man. It's so tough. And I just keep thinking of this digital world that we exist in now. It's so easy to take that first step. It might seem innocuous, but it happens. Lizette, I've been dying to ask you this all the time. How do you do it? How do you tell a person is lying? You are known as the human lie detector. For the interests of someone in this space right now, maybe they've got that little kind of voice going off. What are the signs that a person could potentially be entering into that space? I don't want to say like, okay, this person is lying, but what are some of those signs that should be giving a red flag, do you think, to someone in a relationship?
Graham, I think the first thing which we need to understand is human lie detection is a science. And we need to understand it in context. So when I do say, when somebody starts touching their nose, they're not really lying. It's not in
all
context.
the time.
Not all the time. But yes, when we have to understand what is a lie is I'm not telling you the truth, or I'm withholding information. And I think especially infidelity, that's the part where the red flags comes up. When you ask, where have you been this afternoon? And it becomes very vague. Oh, I was with this guy, and we had some beers and then we went home. Start asking more direct questions. And if it's still vague or it doesn't add up, it is most probably a lie. And we have to be very realistic. If it doesn't make sense, if it's not the norm, start looking at those. See the changed patterns. People who do go into infidelity and start cheating, what they are doing, they change their patterns. Say, the lock phone. We all know about that. We all know about the vague answers. We do know the change of patterns of now suddenly we work late, or we have to go earlier to gym, or, I cannot meet you during the day like I used to. Those are the signs we have to start looking at. Change the patterns, and you have to see why.
And sometimes just trust your guts. I think we're all built with an innate ability to understand and read. And that's based on all those kind of subconscious little flags that are coming up. Beulah, I've got to ask, and I think this is what maybe 50% of the population is asking themselves right now. Once a cheater, always a cheater? Yes or no? Can a leopard change his spots? A tiger change his stripes? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 50% of the population hanging on to my words now.
Yeah, probably about 60, let's say.
Yeah. Yes and no, Graham. Certainly, there are certain indicators that the researchers that it's possible if somebody has cheated that they're 3 times more likely, for instance, to do that again. But as psychologists, we know that people can become self-aware about their own behaviors, about why they engaging in cheating on their partners, and if they're willing to work at it. So I think it is possible that people a leopard can change their spots, but it will take a lot of hard work, commitment to do that, and to be honest with self and the other.
And you have to hope through that process of self-awareness that doesn't draw you apart from one another, that if you can work through that process together as a couple or as a partnership, that's going to be vital. We've got another voice note coming through here from Amanda. Let's hear what she has to say.
Good morning, Expresso. This is Amanda from Durban. To me, cheating is just thinking about, you don't necessarily have to do it physically or sexually. Just thinking about the other person or liking the other person in an intimate way is cheating enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you. She'd drop the mic after that one. She'd been dying to get that off her chest, clearly. This one is going to probably hit a bit of a nerve. Pornography. If thinking about someone else is cheating, where does pornography fit, and how much does pornography facilitate that shift out of a safe relationship bubble into that kind of that dangerous space, do you think,
Yeah, they are opposing views. On the one hand, it's been found that couples who engage in pornography together, in fact, can strengthen their relationship, and that's what is reported. On the other hand, people who engage with pornography on their own does not necessarily have a positive outcome. So pornography on its own does not necessarily lead to infidelity, as I've just explained. It depends, again, I think you mentioned about the context, how it's being used. Is it being used within the context of a loving relationship, or is it sort of cutting off from the partner?
Let's make it practical in that sense. Then this being pornography being one of those situational factors, there are other situational, for instance, working with someone every day, seeing that person. What are some of those situations that tend to get people into murky waters? What in your experience can be, just so that people entering into that space can be aware?
Well, especially when I do couples coaching, what we find is a lot of white noise. And we need to understand that white noise can be just an emotional support. It could be the physical, it could be the pornography. But what we need to understand is a lack of communication. So we always go into that murky waters when we have a lack of proper communication with our partners. And you're afraid to tell hubby, I bought the jacket, but it was actually 2,000 Rand, and I said, I only paid 500 Rand for it. So it sounds so minute, but that builds up. And eventually you create that guilt. And then we start going into the murky waters. Or this morning we leave home and okay, leave it. Don't worry about getting my jacket. I'll find my own jacket. And you get to the office and this guy says, why are you looking so down today? And you think, oh, he's so emotionally supportive. My husband, he doesn't care. We go into the murky waters. And we need to understand and put a very nice divide and understand what is white noise and what happened with our communication, that first love, falling in love, etc. So we have to get rid of the white noise, not to go into the murky waters.
Learn to talk to each other. Communication is key. And that's the blanket answer for almost every one of our relationship issues that we have. It starts with being able to talk. I know we are taking very big concepts, quite complicated notions, and trying to simplify them as much as possible. But we want answers, just like everyone else. Why do we cheat? Why is it a part of the human condition? We'd love to hear from you. What do you consider cheating? Keep those voice notes coming. 063-408-8863. Let's head back to the kitchen.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we delve back into what is proving to be a very interesting relationship chat this morning. Infidelity, one of the toughest setbacks for a relationship to overcome, if you can indeed overcome it. But it can also be the catalyst for positive change, maybe take a step towards self-awareness. We are joined once more by Beulah Marks as well as Lizette Volkveen, who are standing by to answer this question. And if you have any thoughts, please share with us this morning. We'd love to hear your voice notes. 063-408-8863. Is there hope, Beulah? Is there hope? Once infidelity has entered into the mix, can a couple stay together? Can you recover and remain a partnership after that point, do you think?
Yes, Graham, it is possible. I think, as I mentioned, but not without any hard work being done, without introspection, without open communication between yourself and the partner. But it might also need you to find somebody who you can talk through this with, somebody like a counselor or a psychologist, because this is really difficult issues that might come up. There is difficulty if there are complicated, perhaps mental health concerns, which are the underlying reasons for the behavior. And those certainly need to be treated, to be identified. So it is a long and a difficult road, but it is possible to work through it.
I'm going to say any relationship is a long and difficult road.
Yes.
Okay, so just bear that, get over yourself now if you're
Yes.
thinking that this one marker kind of defines your whole life and your person and your relationship. But unfortunately, it kind of does, because it becomes a scapegoat, just like a divorce, for instance, becomes a label that we put on ourselves. Does this then condone their behavior in the future? If they do it again, whose fault is it? Surely it's not your fault for trusting them again, but if it does happen to you, I mean, why have you not learned your lesson? How do we work around that?
It's a fine balance. And we need to understand one thing, and it gets back to authenticity. Be you. When we start being ourselves, I'm going to be, I always say, if you're gullible, you're going to be gullible for the rest of your life. But when you make the decision, and it's like Beulah said, it's hard work. And it's not, like you say, Graham, it's not now I'm married and now it's wonderful for the rest of my life. we're going
I'm
to be
safe,
okay.
yeah.
I have no guarantee that after 36 years, hubby's going to walk in and say, he's trading me in for a younger model. I have no guarantees for that. But when I have that approach of that every single day we evolve as humans, every single day things happen, that's a Rubicon moment. Today it might be a minute change I do today, but maybe tomorrow something at work or wherever happens which creates a really Rubicon moment for me, but not for you. So when we get home, we either need to discuss it as soon as possible, or we need to accept that we do change as we grow older, or get more experience. So can we fix it? Yes, we can. But what we need to understand is to grow and evolve and keep communicating. Be who you are. So if you are caught again with the same person cheating on you again, it's not your fault. That person chooses to be not that committed, or that person is just truly who he is or she is by enjoying the adrenaline, enjoying the going on the side, or they're just living in small boxes. So they're having this infidelity outside of the marriage is a little box, which they do not see as cheating.
Which speaks to probably an underlying a deeper...
Correct. Yeah. So we need to understand that we are not the problem. The person on the other side is most probably having their own issues and they are working with their stuff. It's not you who creates and say, go and have a relationship.
All I'm saying is the second time is probably going to be a lot more difficult to find your way back from. So just if you're thinking about it, okay, just hold yourself right there. We've had some social media comments come through as well. I'm going to take a quick sneak peek at what Risha had to say this morning. Good morning, fam. To me, cheating is when you make a conscious decision to break the trust and loyalty between you and your partner, be it texting, dates, calls, or meetings. Obviously, everyone thinks differently, though, but that's just my thoughts. And then Ronelle saying, good morning, cheating starts with having inappropriate conversations with someone who is not your partner. They are not your partner. I joke about this because we kind of have to, because this is where life really does come to bear, because when you have issues like this within your relationship, nothing else matters. Work doesn't matter. All of these things kind of fall short. It can be devastating. That being said, Buda, what advice do you have for someone who is, and I'm not going to speak to the recipient right now. I'm going to talk to the person who's about to cheat. What advice do you have for them right now about where this little trip down the rabbit hole could be taking them?
Yes. Well, my advice is really, I think what we've all been saying this morning is from the beginning of any relationship right through a crisis to have open communication. That is the challenge. It's easier said than done if it's something that's so difficult and not condoned within and not agreed to within your partnership. To speak to your partners. We talked about pornography earlier. To say, these are my needs, this is what I'd like, how do you feel about it? And then in that way you create more openness, more space for growth within that relationship potentially, or the other person can set boundaries. And you can negotiate.
Either way, yeah.
Yes, how to go about it. That would be my advice, my suggestion, and to also go inward and see, well, what is it about this situation, about this person that's making me think this? Just responding to the note that you were reading earlier, while it is often a conscious decision, there might be opportunistic or reasons. People who are inebriated, for instance. Perhaps if that happens often, you might want to look at, or do I have a difficulty with substances, perhaps? That, if temptation presents itself when I am in a particular state of mind, perhaps that's something I need to look at, to talk about. And to realize that infidelity, if you've committed it or thinking about it, is also shown to be a predictor and indicator of mental health concerns such as depression, anxiety. So it's not just that momentary...
The way that you can feel different, I suppose.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. I'm just thinking about all the office parties that got cancelled courtesy of COVID that might have saved half the relationships out there. Thank you so much. I think we could have sat here for 3 hours discussing this. Thank you so much. I've just been looking at you, looking at me, saying, I'm wondering what she is reading from me right now. But I promise you, I'm straight up. You can see that wedding ring there. No, I do joke about it because I think we do need to kind of take the edge off and actually just talk about it. That is the most important thing here. So between you and your partner right now, forget about everyone else. You guys start this conversation and maybe just discover a bit more about your boundaries, as Beulah said. Thank you so much. You've both been amazing this morning. Hopefully your relationship has remained intact through that discussion, but we'd love those voice notes to keep on coming.